Hello and welcome to the Sharp Principles video. I'm Dr. Emma Powell. I'm a senior lecturer in primary physical education at Newman University.
And I'm Dr. Lorraine Woodfield. I'm a senior lecturer in sport and health also at Newman University. This video aims to introduce you to the Sharp Principles and as an approach to teaching physical education. The Sharp Principles are research informed and are designed to help teachers and coaches to increase the amount of moderate to vigorous physical activity in physical education lessons through a focus on active learning time. Active learning time in physical education is important as it provides opportunities to practice movement skills, and also physical education is about moving to learn and learning to move.
So the Sharp Principles provide practitioners with a focus on active learning time during both the planning and the delivery stages of their primary PE lessons. And they're not a particular teaching style, they are more of a way of thinking. So Sharp stands for S, stretching whilst moving.
H, high repetition of motor skills.
A, accessibility through differentiation.
R, reducing sitting and standing.
And P is promotion of in-class physical activity. So the thinking behind the Sharp Principles initially began when we conducted an exploratory study into children's physical activity levels during primary physical education lessons. We measured 138 children's moderate to vigorous physical activity during primary PE lessons, and we interviewed 80 children and 13 teachers on their perceptions of how active children were during primary PE. And the results indicated that children weren't really moving during primary physical education lessons. There was lots of sitting and standing around. So if children aren't moving, then they're not given the opportunity to acquire, develop or apply any physical skills. So as a result, we developed the Sharp Principles to provide teachers with a way of delivering active primary physical education lessons.
Most physical education curricula internationally makes reference to physical activity and health, and the national curriculum for PE in England is no different, stating that children should be active for sustained periods of time and that they should live active, healthy lives. Active learning time in PE provides a framework to enable children to meet these aims. Primary PE is a unique subject in that children are supposed to be inherently active and engaged in moderate to vigorous physical activity for at least 50% of lesson time. However, as already highlighted, our research has shown that children are regularly failing to meet this 50% threshold.
So from our research, we've evidenced that if a teacher applies the Sharp Principles to their primary PE lessons, there's an average increase of 28% in children's moderate to vigorous physical activity, which produces an overall 75% NVPA per lesson. So that means that children are active, they're moving, they're acquiring, developing, applying skills for 75% of lesson time. And these results are almost double that of any other previously published teaching strategy intervention internationally, which reinforces the effectiveness of the Sharp Principles. So a Sharp lesson starts off with a good warm-up in which you get children moving straight away as soon as they enter the working area. And a Sharp warm-up involves 3 steps. So step 1 is mobilising joints, so getting the children to mobilise their joints whilst they're moving. Step 2 is a pulse raiser, so a gradual increase in intensity. And step 3 is taking the children through some dynamic stretches instead of the traditional static stretches. And we've provided teachers with some examples of some dynamic stretches, so such as high knees, heel flicks, jumping jacks and side shuffles, for instance. And we asked teachers to select 3 of these to put into the warm-up.
High repetition of motor skills provides children with opportunities to practice their motor skills so that they become more competent in their movement. In physical education lessons, it is common practice for children to queue and to wait for their turn because of how the learning environment is organised. This does not happen in lessons in classrooms, therefore it should be avoided in physical education lessons. Ideally, children should have their own equipment, but we understand that sometimes schools may not have sufficient small and large physical education equipment to enable them to have individual access. However, a teacher should ask themselves, could these children be involved in active learning? For example, instead of having to queue to use gymnastic apparatus, some children could be practicing gymnastic skills on the floor or gymnastic mat. Also, in large group games, children may be standing around waiting for somebody to pass the ball to them. Instead, children could be grouped for small-sided games, for example, 2 versus 2 or 3 versus 3, to provide them with greater opportunities to practice their skills in a game situation.
So within the SHARP principles, we've integrated the STEP principle, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. So you can differentiate the activity via space, task, equipment or people. And the idea behind it is that if a child is finding a task too hard or too easy, then they're not going to be able to access their learning, so they won't be active. So as part of the SHARP principles, we ask teachers to differentiate their lessons using STEP.
Reducing sitting and standing encourages teachers to think about the learning environment by being aware of how long children are sitting and standing. For example, think about reducing teacher talk and the length of demonstration time, and try to keep explanations and instructions simple and concise, with only a few teaching points. Also think about how you can bring children in or get children started on a task as quickly as possible. For example, by counting down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, off you go. There'll be times in lessons where a teacher does need to speak to a whole class of children, and there will be some excedentary periods. However, do you have to stop and talk to the whole class? Could you speak with individuals or small groups of children while the rest of the class are still engaged in active learning? If you are using pupil and self-assessment in your lessons, then instead of stopping the whole class to watch, could the children demonstrate to a partner or a small group?
So a SHARP lesson is a positive lesson. The teacher will be giving lots of praise to the children and encouragement to get them moving and practicing their skills. And you'll rarely see any behavioural issues in a SHARP lesson because children are active, they're moving and they're on task. So thank you for viewing this video. If you'd like to find out more information about the SHARP principles, then please contact us.
Or please read our published research. The references are on the next slide.